Happy Tuesday, and thank you for joining us for this lunchtime news broadcast where we catch up on the news making headlines across Namibia and expanding to the rest of the continent and the globe. I am Ashwin Berry. Now in today's news, Cheetah Cement employees alleged to be lacking sufficient paperwork. We also take a look at the news headlining today's daily newspapers, bringing you sports news and international headlines. This and more coming up in today's broadcast. This is NMH at 1. In today's mid-news update, members of Namibia Economic Freedom Fighters today visited Cheetah Cement in Oshiwarongo to assess the situation at the plant. It is alleged that there are Chinese nationals without working permits and proper documentation, and also ill treatment of local employees. Let's have a look at this video contributed by Enzo Amuele.
Namibia Economic Freedom Fighters, a party that aspires to free the working class and the poor, managed to visit Cheetah Cement, where we needed to engage with the management as to information within our disposal, whether they are true or not. To our surprise this morning, we entered the premises, but the general manager, be it his assistants, were not present at the premises. And this has really made us suspicious to know that the information that we got, it's real, the truth that we have Chinese nationals that are working here without working permit. On top of that, the working condition of the employees is also questionable. So today, we have marked this day as a significant day, mostly to the workers of this Cheetah Cement, for the information that they have disseminated with our office or with our leadership to make sure that we come and really see what is happening on the ground. With me, I'm also with the team of the leaders from our party, Namibia Economic Freedom Fighters, to come and share the same anonymous sentiments as to the lives of the people that are suffering here based on the employment condition by the Chinese employer. So
the issue is as follows. We have illegal Chinese immigrants who came to this country on invitation. Some of this invitation go back as far as 2018. So these people do not have working permits. They do not have any working visas, but they are here working, and we do not know on what basis they are working. Shockingly enough, we also just witnessed now that Chinese are the ones who are busy sweeping here. Now, when we always hear that we need investors and we need expertise, so does that mean that expertise is sweeping now? We want to say that Namibians can no longer sweep the streets. We are made to understand there are over 60 Chinese nationals working here, while we have Namibians who do not have jobs. We have exactly about 1.2 million Namibians who are unemployed. We have 80,000 graduates who are unemployed. But we have Chinese here. They are the finance managers, they are the HR managers, they are all sorts of managers. So this issue, we don't take it lightly, and we'll engage with the relevant authorities to make sure that these Chinese are either deported or they are arrested. Because we find it unfair that a Zimbabwean selling brooms on the street is immediately arrested, a fellow African. But when it's a Chinese national, then no one is quick to act and no one does anything. So we don't take this thing lightly. And as the Namibia Economic Freedom Fighters, we want to fight for the working class and the poor of our country.
That was our midday news update. We return with more news from across Namibia right after the ad break. Getting into today's visual news clips, with fuel prices increasing at midnight on Tuesday, most service stations have enough fuel for motorists who will still fill their tanks today. Yolanda Now reports.
With the geopolitical tensions in Eastern Europe reaching a boiling point late last month, the global oil markets immediately reacted with sharp increases in prices of petroleum products. The subsequent sanctions on the Russian Federation, one of the world's major oil producers, reinforced the shocks by making the situation in the global oil market even more problematic. These events are happening at a time when global oil supply is heavily unable to catch up with the levels of global demand for oil. These geopolitical events are also happening at a time when upstream oil and gas exploration projects are heavily competing for investments with the renewable energy sector, and while many aging crude oil refineries are shutting down across the world. Motorists are already flocking to service stations countrywide, with many service stations saying that their tanks are full and that they have enough to service everyone. The petrol prices will increase with 195 cents per litre and 295 cents per litre for diesel. The new fuel prices in Walvis Bay will become $19.10 per litre for petrol and $20.23 per litre for diesel. The prices across the rest of the country will also be adjusted accordingly. It must be noted that the National Energy Fund will cover the entirety of the under-recoveries recorded between the 1st and the 31st of March.
Now, Monique Adams from our office in the south came across this swarm of locusts 30 kilometers north of Keetmanshoop. Staff on the agricultural office of the Kharas region were busy spraying chemicals against the locusts. Have a look.
30 kilometers before Keetmanshoop, on the B1 road, there was a swarm of baby locusts traveling to the east. We got to speak to Nelson Garazemo, who is the Chief Agricultural Scientific Officer of the Kharas region, and this is what he had to say.
Yeah, currently now we are 30 kilometers from Keetmanshoop on the B1, so we are moving the direction of Ches. So actually we have a swarm of brown locusts that has invaded our region since November, and it's 15 kilometers, let me say 30 to 45, and my guys are on the ground now. We are busy treating it, and hopefully maybe we'll minimize the impact. We normally have a situation like this, Armsvlei, Karasberg area, but now because of the good rainfall and the way the rainfall is even falling, it's not heavy, it gives time for them to breed, and this is where we are now. It's simply obvious that the locusts they are heavy, and as much as the rain is still falling, it's raining. Actually, the road tend to be sliding, so drivers have to be cautious. Even now, currently as we are speaking, we have put several cones on the road, trying to make sure like the road users are aware, and they could notice like we are on the ground, and they should very, very much reduce their speed.
Namibia Media Holdings, Monique Adams reporting to you from Keetmanshoop.
A truly interesting development. When we return, we'll be taking a sneak peek inside Namibia's daily print publications. But first, a quick ad break. Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. We now look at what the lead stories are in Namibia's daily newspapers. The Namibian Sun reports that President Hage Geingob yesterday stuck to his remarks that oil discovered off the coast of Namibia by Shell and Qatar last month is not owned by Namibians unless the constitution is amended to nationalize the resource. On page 3 of the Namibian Sun, it is reported that rainfall in Namibia is still possible until the middle of May as La Nina conditions continue, but the long-term outlook for what to expect next year remains unclear. The Republican reports that by the end of the year, more than 500 graduates in the medical industry will find themselves in a precarious position. The prospect is that there is not a single health institution for them to do their internships to eventually register with the Health Professions Council of Namibia. Republican reports that cases of scabies have been reported across the country over the past 3 months, with an increase being experienced in Omaheke, Ohangwena, Kavango East and West. According to the Health Ministry, 3,454 cases were recorded in the country for January to March. Most of these were in Kunene, followed by 708 in Ohangwena and 402 in Oshodonjupa. Now the Allgemeine Zeitung reports that Recon Africa has declared successful test drilling and seismic measurements and announced 5 promising drilling prospects, as well as the expansion of one of the 2 existing boreholes. Such a project would be in breach of an IUCN moratorium. The Allgemeine Zeitung also reports that all service-related rates in Swakopmund are increased by 3%. Excluded are rates for seniors, groundwater rates, and the prices of urban bungalows. After the break, we'll get into the front pages. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. Let's have a look at the front pages. The Namibian reports that Independent Patriots for Change leader Panduleni Itula said he is not quite convinced that oil recently discovered in Namibia belongs to the discoverers. The Namibian also reports that a 20-year-old woman was dragged into a Mariento graveyard and raped on Saturday. In the new era, it is reported that scabies has now become a national concern after cases of outbreaks in most regions. Also in the new era, it is reported that a new iron ore mine in the Dobabis area, owned by private investors, is expected to be operational by the 4th quarter of 2024. The Zone reports about Shantay Birkus, who started spinning cars at the age of 13 in 2020. She hopes to inspire more girls to take interest in the male-dominated sport. Finally, in economic news, according to MarketWatch, the increase in the prices of fuel and food, coupled with expected rising interest rates, will put a strain on household budgets, analysts have warned. Sticking with economic news, of 61,502 businesses surveyed in the 2019 to April 2021 census, 1,365 were closed countrywide due to COVID-19. This and more stories from the world of economics after this short break. This is still NMH at 1, and these are your economic news stories. About 2% of businesses surveyed in a countrywide census by Namibia Statistics Agency from October 2019 to April 2021, comprising of 61,502 businesses, found that 1,365 were closed, 1,270 temporarily, and 95 permanently. Oshikoto and Kharas reported the highest number of businesses permanently closed. Oshikoto's number was 26 or 27.4% of businesses surveyed. In Kharas, 18 or 18.9% of businesses surveyed had to close their doors permanently. In Ohangwena, 282 businesses, which make up 22.2% of businesses in the region, had to shut down operations temporarily. In Oshikoto, 16% comprised of 203 businesses had to close their doors, while 13.1% closed in Omusati. Kharas stood at 10.5%. The 61,502 businesses surveyed employed 348,822 people in total. In our next story, Finance Minister Ipumbushimi has been urged to redo the national budget tabled last month to include mitigation measures to protect Namibians against economic repercussions of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Mike Kabeko-Tora, the leader of the Rally for Democracy and Progress, said Namibians who are just coming out of an economic slump following the devastating COVID-19 pandemic, which saw hordes of people losing their jobs and businesses, will not be able to withstand the increasing food and fuel prices. Namibia has increased fuel prices twice since the beginning of the year, with the latest adjustment coming after the tabling of the budget, while basic food items such as sugar, oil and wheat products have skyrocketed in less than a week. He added that there ought to be concrete, quantifiable evidence that this budget was indeed drawn up in the interest of Namibian people. Let's get into your economic indicators. The Namibian dollar has gone up in relation to the US dollar. The Namibian dollar has gone up in relation to the euro and the US dollar, while going down in value when weighed against the Chinese yuan. Namibian breweries MTC and Capricorn Investment Group Limited stocks have gone down in price, while First Rand Namibia Limited stocks are up 0.01%. Local index on the NSX is down by 1.21%, while overall index is also down by 0.22%. Copper is down in value by 1.01%, while these other major commodities have gone up. Brent crude oil now trading at $99.91 US. We return with news from the DRC, where sadly at least 7 people died after a train derailed in Lualaba province. Stick around for the full story.
Choose your flex package with Paratus today. Sign up for ultra-fast fiber with the convenience of mobile LTE. That's 2 products in one bundle. It's new, it's one bill, and you can stay connected in more than one location.
For more information, visit paratus.africa/NA.
Always prepared. Paratus.
Have you received a loan from NASFAF? NASFAF loan is the same as any other loan. It must be paid and settled. NASFAF has a set of guidelines on how you can repay your loan and become debt-free. Therefore, it is important that you, a former beneficiary and a responsible Namibian, show your patriotism by helping pay back your loan and thus helping NASFAF become a revolving fund for the benefit of future potential students. By failing to pay back your NASFAF loan, you risk being blacklisted or having a court order against you. So arrange with the fund to pay back your loan today. For more information on how you can repay your loan, visit our website at www.nasfaf.na or visit our Facebook page or Twitter. Do the right thing and #paybackthemoney.
You are still watching NMH at 1. We now take a look at the latest news in our neighboring countries. We'll later extend to the rest of the globe. At least 7 people were killed on Saturday night in a new freight train derailment in the Lualaba province in southeastern Democratic Republic of Congo. The train accident has claimed the life of at least 7 people. The death toll could rise as many stowaways are trapped under the lying wagons. According to a local official of the National Railway Company of Congo, the freight train was made up of 8 wagons. The derailment comes 2 weeks after a train crash in the same village in mid-March that left at least 75 people dead and 125 injured, according to the government in Kinshasa. Moving over to South Africa. South Africa has announced the ending of COVID restrictions 2 years after they were imposed. In a televised address, President Cyril Ramaphosa said the national state of disaster would end at midnight on Monday. Masks will still be required indoors for another month. He said although the pandemic was not over, he was confident that there were only better times ahead. Mr. Ramaphosa said it was important to boost the economy and create jobs. South Africa has recorded far more coronavirus cases than any other African country, accounting for almost a third of infections across the continent. It has officially registered over 100,000 deaths. Now, a total of 94 people were arrested for drug trafficking in Maputo, the Mozambican capital, since April 2021, a source from the National Criminal Investigation Service said. According to the same source, of those arrested, 13 are foreigners, mostly of Nigerian and South African nationality. The arrests occurred until last month in operations that resulted in the seizure of 82 kilograms of drugs, including heroin, cocaine, and cannabis, all incinerated on Friday. According to the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, the authorities in Kenya and Tanzania, countries to the north of Mozambique, have increased surveillance in recent years, pushing traffickers south towards the Mozambican coast in search of new routes and new markets. The country is pointed out by several international organizations as a transit corridor for international drug trafficking to Europe and the United States, particularly of heroin from Asia, but seizures of cocaine from South America have also increased. Soon we'll move over to international news. In Indonesia, a death sentence has been handed down to a teacher found guilty of raping 13 girls. More on this story after the break.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, welcome to another exciting edition.
Let's get into your international news stories. An Indonesian court handed down a death sentence on Monday to a teacher for raping 13 girls at an Islamic school, upholding an appeal by prosecutors for the death penalty after he had initially received a sentence of life in prison. The case of teacher Heri Wirawan has shocked Indonesia and shone a spotlight on the need to protect children from sexual violence in the country's religious boarding schools. Between 2016 and 2021, Heri sexually groomed the 13 girls who were between 12 and 16 years old and impregnated 8 of his victims, a judge said in February. Indonesian officials, including the country's child protection minister, had also backed calls for the death penalty, though the nation's Human Rights Commission, which opposes the death penalty, said it was not appropriate. In our next story, Peruvian President Pedro Castillo imposed a curfew in the capital, Lima, earlier today, banning people from leaving their homes in an attempt to curb protests against rising fuel and fertilizer costs that have spread throughout the country. The cabinet has agreed to declare a ban on the mobility of citizens from 2 a.m. through to 11:59 p.m. of Tuesday, April 5, to protect the fundamental rights of all people, Castillo said in an address broadcast nationwide. The protests have become increasingly violent and at least 4 people have been killed, the government said. On Monday, protesters burned toll booths and clashed with the police. The nationwide turmoil erupted last week as farmers and truckers blocked some main highways to Lima, leading to a sudden surge in food prices. Soon we move over to sports news. Starting with cricket, things are looking good for Namibia as the team won their 4th match by 6 wickets on Sunday. More on this after we return. Let's dive straight into your local sports on NMH at 1. Namibia took an unbeatable 2-1 lead in their 50-over series against Island Wolves when they won their 4th match by 6 wickets on Sunday. With one match having rained out, Namibia now holds a 2-1 lead in the series ahead of the final match today. One of Namibia's emerging athletic stars, David Dam, is traveling to South Africa today to test his running skills in the 800 and 1,500 meters against the best in that country. Competition will start tomorrow, continue on Saturday and next week Wednesday. Namibia sponsored the long-distance runner and his trainer Bertold Karumendu with 50,000 Namibian dollars. Now, Namibia Paralympic Committee Secretary General Michael Hamukwaya says more athletes with disabilities need to be classified for their results to be recognized by the International Paralympic Committee ranking. Hamukwaya said despite the athletes' incredible performance at the championships, some of their results will not be recorded as they are not internationally classified. Now, speaking of international news in the sports world, the Champions League will see Chelsea take on Real Madrid tomorrow. This and more stories from the international sports scene after the break. We now look at the international sports scene, starting with the Champions League. Chelsea faces Real Madrid on Wednesday, reeling from their heaviest defeat of the season. But Thomas Tuchel's battle-hardened ability to keep his players focused should ensure the Champions League holders are ready for the latest test of their resilience. Mikel Arteta apologized for Arsenal's unacceptable performance in a 3-0 defeat at Crystal Palace that dealt a significant blow to their bid to finish in the Premier League's top 4. Diego Simeone conceded on Monday that Manchester City have better players than Atletico Madrid, but said Chelsea's Champions League success last year shows his team can still reach the semi-finals. Atletico are the underdogs heading into the first leg in Manchester on Tuesday, but Simeone's side have history for upsetting the odds, not least when they defeated Pep Guardiola's Bayern Munich in 2016. This is still NMH at 1. Your highlights after the break.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, welcome to another exciting edition.
Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. Here are the highlights from today's stories. Members of Namibia Economic Freedom Fighters today visited Cheetah Cement in Oshwarongo to assess the situation at the plant. It is alleged that there are Chinese nationals without working permits and proper documentation, and also ill treatment of local employees. Now, at least 7 people were killed on Saturday night in a new freight train derailment in the Lualaba province in southeastern Democratic Republic of Congo. An Indonesian court handed down a death sentence on Monday to a teacher for raping 13 schoolgirls at an Islamic school, upholding an appeal by prosecutors for the death penalty after he had initially received a sentence of life in prison. Now, Namibia took an unbeatable 2-1 lead in their 50-over series against Island Wolves when they won their 4th match by 6 wickets on Sunday. With one match having rained out, Namibia now holds a 2-1 lead in the series ahead of the final match today. Now, those have been our highlights. Thank you for staying with NMH at 1 and spending your lunch hour with me, Ashwin Berry. Remember to tune in on Monday to Friday at 1 p.m. as we take you through the latest happenings in Namibia and beyond. But until then, here's a compilation of news from across the regions in Namibia.
Good day and welcome to another episode of Regional Review. I'm Kenya Kambowe, Namibia Media Holdings correspondent in the Northeastern regions. On today's show, we'll be giving you highlights of events that unfolded in the Northeastern regions over the past week. And also, we'll share an interview with Mr. Anton Kamerika, a youth development officer from the Akayak organization, who will be sharing with us some of the programs they've been doing in this region, as well as the challenges they are facing. Meanwhile, we all know when you are stuck in a library somewhere, there's someone you always turn to, and that's the librarian. And that's why we are celebrating Library Workers' Day today. So check out the next video. Thank you very much for staying tuned. And now we are moving to the review segment. So basically, we all know that the food commodities, the fuel prices, all of that are increasing at a rapid pace, whereby we as residents or Namibians don't even have a control over it, apart if our policymakers make drastic changes. So I spoke to a resident from Rundu, Cecilia Iyambo, who reacted on the food prices, and this is what she had to say.
It has affected our livelihoods negatively, I must say, because we were not ready. Everything just started increasing at the same time, the food, the fuel, everything. I mean, we were just recovering from the effects of COVID-19, and then this happened. So it really caught a lot of us off guard, especially for myself. And I can only imagine for those now who are not employed, especially in the community where I live, for them it must be even more severe, because now they cannot get as much as they used to from the grant that they usually used to get, because now the food is expensive, of course. But again, I think there's an opportunity in these times. This is now when we as Namibians should now start producing our own food, because clearly these times are not favorable for all of us. But I believe if we start growing our own food, even if it's just an backyard garden, I think that will help us a lot.
Okay, thank you very much for that, ma'am.
Thank you.
Our second story under review is the marriage between Rundu Town Council and Red Force debt collectors. So basically what happened is that in November last year, the Rundu Town Council resolved to seek a legal opinion from the Attorney General's office to see whether they can terminate the contract they entered into with Red Force that was in October 2020. The reason why Council wants to terminate the contract is because Red Force is unable to fulfill their commitments as stipulated within their contract. Red Force is expected to recover around 450 million, which is owed to Council by the residents and various stakeholders. And in the contract, it says that per month, Red Force should rake in at least $5 million. However, the last time Red Force managed to recover 5 million or more was in February last year, which means a year later, Red Force is failing in its tracks to live up to the contract. It's on that basis the Council in November resolved to approach the Attorney General's office for a legal opinion. 5 months later, the Attorney General's office, however, did not respond to the Rundu Town Council. Attempts to get comment from Red Force proved futile. However, Rundu Town Council claims it stands a better chance because it has been receiving a lot of requests or threats from the community saying that they want Red Force out of Rundu. And it's on that basis Red Force, or the marriage between Town Council and Red Force, is not that healthy anymore because they are unable to live to the expectations. The residents have also decided they won't pay the arrears, because what happens is that when you don't pay Red Force, nothing happens to you. Because if you do not pay your water in Rundu, the others are paying for you. What do I mean by that? It means that Rundu has one system, they are on a prepaid system. The water which is consumed by everyone is on 1 meter, which is Nam water station. So what happens is that even if I don't pay my water bill and others pay, it's fine. And that is the situation we find ourselves in Rundu. Unless drastic measures are taken, the situation will remain as is. So basically, some people are refusing to pay Red Force even though they are being threatened. It's because they know that even if Red Force cuts off their water, they will be able to get water from somewhere else, from those who are working. So basically, the situation is very dire in Rundu, and the residents are calling in the council to do something better for them. Mr. Kamerika, can you just tell us more about Kayak in the Kavango East?
Kayak is an after-school youth development program, which is currently funded by FNB. They are our main donors here in Kavango region. So Kayak runs different programs, mainly the after-school program, which is based in Rundu. We do have another after-school program funded by B2Gold in Ochuarongo, and then also in Windhoek, besides being a vocational institution. So what we currently normally do with the funding that we are receiving from FNB is that we are mandated to provide psychosocial support in Kavango East region, as well as academic support. So the activities that we are normally running on a daily basis from Monday to Friday, sometimes up to Saturday, depending on the weather. So we run from 2:30 up to 4:30 with kids that are coming from 11 different schools that are registered with us, and these are kids between the ages of 10 to 18 years old. kids with different challenges from different backgrounds. And they come at the office with the support from our community volunteers. These are well experienced and qualified volunteers, some of whom graduate from universities that come and help out in the afternoon. So besides that, we also do outreach programs as part of it. The mandate which FNB has given us with the funding is that we reduce the teenage pregnancy rate in Kavango East, which has been very, very high. So for the past 5-6 years of funding, FNB believed in the work that we do, and that's why they continue funding us every year. We've currently received another funding from them for 2021 August up to 2022 August again. So what our approach is to reduce this teenage pregnancy in the Kavango East region is by doing outreach programs using My Future, My Choice model or curriculum that has been very effective in the past years. And that is the same one we've reintroduced to the schools, complementing the work that they are doing during the life skills lessons. We've already started with Northlands. We will soon be going to Kaisosi and then Kehemu, as well as Elias Neromba before the end of August. So it has been very, very effective so far, if you look at the feedback that you will be getting from the students at the schools. So what the kids normally will do when they come at our center here is that there is a timetable of activities of what they are supposed to be doing. So on Monday and Tuesday is when they are doing academic support. And then from Wednesday to Thursday is when we do life skills and career guidance, as well as different activities related to psychosocial support. The Friday and the Saturday is when we do sports activities. And the current sports activities that we can only provide here is the soccer, volleyball, cricket, and BMX cycling, which the kids love a lot. So for Saturdays is when we are having BMX cycling, which also took place last weekend at the RVTC sports field. One thing you will realize in our program is our target with FNB is our target is 75 for the year. But if you look on our database, we are registered currently with over 217 kids that are registered in the program. That means that the demand is high and there's nothing we can do. We do not accept kids staying out after school on the streets. And this is how they end up getting involved in different crimes, activities, and then they end up in jail as well. So besides that statistics, you will realize also about 70% are the boys who are registered in the program. Why this is high is because of the BMX cycling competition that the boys love riding, and that's how one way of attraction that we bring them to the center to come and keep them busy in the afternoons as well.
I saw some food in your office. Is it for the learners or the students, or is it for the staff members?
No, it's absolutely all the food that we buy that you see in the office here goes to the kids. So twice a week, FNB makes sure that the kids get something to eat, because not all the kids, when they go home, have something to eat after school. And most of the kids also that wake up the next morning might go to school without having had bread or anything to eat. So when they come, at least at the center here, we try to provide them with something to eat, whether it's a bowl of soup with porridge or so. And they will tell you at times we even give them like maybe just an apple or a biscuit. And most have said already and said, with at least that little apple that we get or the biscuits that you give us, it really helps us a lot, because most of us haven't eaten anything for the day. So this is what we can do with them at the moment. But if there are more people out there who can complete the next 2 days or 3 days in a week to complement FNB's work, they are more than welcome, because at the current stage, we would really appreciate it to feed all the kids at least 5 days in a week when they come to the center. But due to budget constraints also, we can only afford to feed them at least twice, if not 3 times a week.
Talk about teenage pregnancy. Kavango East and West are mostly when you look at statistics, they are the highest always in terms of teenage pregnancies. What is your methodology? What are you actually telling the kids in terms of
Yeah, like I said, the one of the modules that we are using is the My Future and My Choice, which has been very effective in the past years, even in our school years and so on. So it is very much a good module that we are using to facilitate our sessions throughout our outreach programs. It is very effective. The one thing is that it needs consistent discussions, that you need to talk about it over and over for a child to be able to understand as well. So I think showing them these presentations through our outreach programs really helps quite a lot. And the one thing that we consistently talk about is that we cannot say that children or youth or teenagers must abstain from sex, because the more you say that they must abstain, it's more like you are provoking them to try it out and all that. So the best method even that we use when we go out there is to demonstrate the correct condom use or femidom use to them, because at least if they know how to protect themselves, when that time comes, they will be able to protect themselves the correct way, rather than us just preaching out there to say abstain, abstain, abstain. Preaching to abstain is not going to be a solution, but rather showing them that this is how you abstain. Then they'll be able to abstain the correct way.
Mr. Kamarika, it was nice having you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Taking a look at the weather for the northeast this week. Nkurunkuru is mostly sunny and pleasant, although warmer tomorrow and Thursday. By Friday it will cool somewhat and showers are expected on Saturday afternoon. Rundu is mostly sunny and very warm, with showers expected on Friday and Saturday. The same goes for Kongola, except for more showers forecast for Sunday. Showers and humidity are forecast for Katima for the most of this week, and at Kasane, rain and mild temperatures are expected for the whole week.
That was it from me today. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for another episode of Regional Review, same time tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day.